Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. What is school for? We get a lot of standard answers to this question. School is to get a good job. It's to become a productive member of society. It's to learn the skills and facts you need to be a good, informed citizen. It's to socialize you. These answers all have one thing in common. They are about making you into something. They assume there's a blueprint for a good person, a good worker, or a good citizen. And that school is the factory floor where we assemble that person. We pour in the knowledge, math, history, science. Install the programming, the rules, the bells, the hidden curriculum of obedience, and roll the finished product out the door at graduation. Existentialism is a philosophy that hears this and shouts, "Stop." At its very core, existentialism is a philosophy of the individual. It's not interested in productive members of society or good citizens. It is interested in you, the single, unique, conscious person sitting at the desk, looking at the clock, and wondering, why am I here? For an existentialist, the purpose of education is not to shape a student into a predetermined mold. The purpose of education is to awaken that student to their own life, to their own freedom, and to the terrifying and wonderful responsibility of choosing who they are going to be. It's a philosophy that rejects all the prepackaged answers and forces the biggest, scariest questions to the front of the line. Who are you? What do you value? What gives your life meaning? To understand existentialism in a classroom, you have to understand its one huge, earth-shaking idea: existence precedes essence. This sounds academic, but it's a simple, powerful concept. Let's break it down. For most of history, people believed the opposite. They believed essence precedes existence. Think of it like a paper cutter. Before a paper cutter exists, someone, an artisan, has a complete idea of it in their mind. They know its purpose, its design, its function. The idea of the paper cutter, its essence, comes before the physical thing is ever made. For centuries, this is how we thought about people. A divine creator, or human nature, or society had a plan for you, an essence. You were meant to be a farmer, or a mother, or a good, God-fearing person. Your purpose was defined for you, and your job in life was simply to live up to that preordained blueprint. Then, in the 19th and 20th centuries, thinkers like Soren Kierkegaard, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Jean-Paul Sartre came along and flipped the entire idea on its head. Especially in a modern, often secular world, they argued there is no grand blueprint. There is no predetermined human nature or cosmic plan. Instead, you just are. You are born. You exist. You are thrust into the world as a conscious, feeling, thinking nothingness. You are pure existence. Then, and only then, do you begin to create your essence. Your identity, your values, yourself, through the choices you make. This is the central, radical claim of existentialism. You are not born a coward or a hero, a good person or a bad person, an artist or an accountant. You become those things, one choice at a time. As Sartre famously put it, we are condemned to be free. We are thrown into this life without our permission and are forced to choose. Even not choosing is a choice. This freedom is terrifying. It means we have no excuses. We can't blame God, our parents, our genetics, or society for who we are. We are totally and completely responsible for the person we build. This realization, the dread and anxiety of all this freedom, is what existentialists call angst. And this angst, this moment of terrifying self-awareness, is exactly where they believe education should begin. An existentialist educator looks at a typical school and sees a system designed to do one thing: hide our freedom from us. Traditional schooling, in this view, is a massive conspiracy to promote bad faith. Bad faith is the term existentialists use for lying to ourselves. It's the act of pretending we aren't free, so we don't have to take responsibility. A normal school is built on bad faith. Students pretend to care about grades, Shakespeare, or the quadratic formula. Not because they've chosen to value these things, but because that's what you're supposed to do to get into college. Teachers pretend that the state-mandated curriculum is the most important knowledge in the world, not because they passionately believe it, but because it's my job and it's what we have to cover. The system itself, is a giant machine for essence imposing. It tells you, your essence is a good student, and it defines that for you. Be quiet, be on time. Follow directions, get good test scores. An existentialist sees this as profoundly dehumanizing. It treats students as objects to be molded, not subjects to be awakened. It is a system designed to stamp out the individual and produce a predictable, compliant product. When a student in a biology class has a sudden, gut-punching realization of their own mortality, I'm going to die someday, and asks, why are we even learning about mitochondria? A traditional teacher might say, be quiet, it'll be on the test. An existentialist teacher would say, that is the most important question we've heard all day. Let's talk about that. They believe the goal of school is not to avoid anxiety, dread, or the big questions, but to confront them. Because in that confrontation, in that moment of angst, the student is finally awake and ready to start making real, authentic choices. What does an existentialist classroom actually look like? You cannot buy an existentialist curriculum in a box. It's not a program. It's an attitude toward education. It's a way of being between a teacher and a student. But we can describe what it would feel like. 1. The goal is authenticity, not achievement. The entire point of the class is not to get an A, but to become authentic. An authentic person is someone whose life and actions line up with the values they have freely chosen for themselves. The goal is self-discovery and self-creation. The class is a success if a student leaves it knowing themselves better, even if their test scores don't improve. 2. The teacher is a real, authentic person. The teacher's first job is to drop the mask. They are not the sage on the stage, the all-knowing authority who deposits truth into empty student brains. They are a fellow human, a fellow traveler who is also on a journey of self-discovery. This teacher is open about their own struggles, their own doubts, and their own values. They don't have all the answers. Instead, they are masters at asking powerful, Socratic, and deeply personal questions. You say you believe in honesty, but I see you acting this way. How do you square those two things? You say you have to go to college. Who says, what would happen if you chose not to? What do you actually want? That book made you angry. Why? What in you did it touch? The teacher's job is to be a mirror and a loving critic, constantly pushing the student to examine their own bad faith and make more authentic choices. 3. The curriculum is a tool for self-reflection. In an existentialist classroom, the curriculum is not a sacred text. It's a set of tools or encounters to provoke self-reflection. The humanities, arts and philosophy are king. Literature, you don't read The Stranger by Albert Camus to memorize facts about the author. You read it to have a gut-level encounter with the absurd, the feeling of being a stranger in a meaningless world, and then ask, have I ever felt this way? What do I do with this feeling? History, you don't study wars just to learn dates and battles. You study them to confront the human capacity for cruelty, the meaning of courage, and the way individual choices, or the lack thereof, can change the world. Art, you don't just look at a painting. You explore the emotional response it creates in you. You create art to express the feelings and ideas inside you that you can't put into words. Creative writing. A journal is probably the most powerful tool in this classroom. The prompt is simply, who are you today? This doesn't mean math and science are useless, but they are taught differently. The why comes first. You learn physics to grapple with the overwhelming scale of the universe and your own tiny, brief place in it. You learn biology to confront the reality of your own body and your own mortality. The subject is always, in the end, the self. 4. Choice is everything. Since freedom is the cornerstone of this philosophy, the classroom must be built on choice. A required reading list is almost a contradiction. A student must be free to choose what books to read, what topics to write about, and how to express what they've learned. The act of choosing is the educational moment. When a student has to decide between writing an essay on Hamlet or The Great Gatsby, they are forced to ask, which of these speaks to me more? Which of these will help me understand my life? That moment of self-interrogation is the lesson. Why isn't every school like this? This all sounds very romantic and powerful, so why is it so rare? Because it is, in almost every way, the exact opposite of what our current society thinks it wants from schools. The criticisms are powerful and practical. 1. This is depressing and dangerous. This is the most common critique. You're going to tell a classroom of 15-year-olds that the universe is meaningless, there's no God, and they're all alone? That's not education. It's a recipe for nihilism and depression. Critics argue that young people need structure, a moral foundation, and a sense of shared purpose, not a dose of existential dread. 2. How is this practical? This is the "how does this get you a job" argument. Society needs engineers, doctors, plumbers, and accountants. A school system built on self-reflection and reading Dostoevsky seems like a self-indulgent luxury. It doesn't seem to prepare students with the concrete, marketable skills they need to survive in a competitive economy. It is, in a word, useless. 3. It's pure chaos. A school system cannot run this way. How do you have standards? How do you have tests? How do you measure authenticity on a report card? A school of 2,000 students, each on their own unique journey of self-discovery, is not a school, it's an anarchy. The modern school system is built on standardization, data, and accountability. Existentialism is anti-system. 4. It's a philosophy for the privileged. It's easy to talk about creating your essence when your basic needs are met. What does existential freedom mean to a child who is hungry, homeless, or in a violent neighborhood? Their choices feel brutally limited by their circumstances. A critic would say that for these students, school should be about practical, essence-imposing skills that give them a path out of those circumstances. Existentialism in education is not a simple program you can install. It's a tough, disruptive, and deeply personal challenge. It's a philosophy for the brave teacher willing to be real, and for the brave student willing to be free. Its real-world critics are not wrong. It is impractical, unstructured, and a tough pill to swallow. It's not a model for an entire public school system, but its value isn't in its practicality. It's in its persistence. It is the philosophy that gives a voice to every student who has ever felt like a number. It is the philosophy that speaks for every teacher who feels like a cog in a machine, force-feeding kids test prep data they know doesn't matter. Existentialism's legacy in education is the enduring, uncomfortable question it never lets us forget. Are we making cogs, or are we helping to awaken human beings? It reminds us that the curriculum, the tests, the grades, and the diplomas are all just stuff we invented. The only thing that's real is the individual student sitting in that chair, faced with the terrifying, beautiful, and unavoidable task of living a life. And the most important question any educator can ever ask is, how can I help you with that?